Thank you for tuning back in, guys. Today we got another Crocodile deck profile from the one and only Ethan. He just piloted it through today's OCE online regionals. Did pretty well with it. He went 5-3, just bubbled out of top 64, man. It was a bit unfortunate with some games, but he's gonna take it away from here and explain in depth the games and the profile once again that you guys enjoy so much. Take it away, man.
Okay, so this deck that I built, it helps a lot around red matches. It's a very different build from the one that we have previously on the channel with the Animal Kingdom build. So this one's more built around the Sentomaru engine to help you with the yellow matchups that actually came in really handy today because I did versus Katakuri and I did win. But the plethora of Whitebeard matchups, it just stomps Whitebeard. The only thing that's going to stop you from beating Whitebeard is the deck itself with bricking, unfortunately. There are cards in here to cycle, but obviously you can't always have the best hand. You can try your best to mull for it, but 9 times out of 10 you'll have a fine hand, as shown today. I guess 5-3. It's a bit disappointing of a match of games that we had today because I did start off pretty strong. Going in, I was 5-1, and then 5-2 and 5-3. So it was a good strong start to the day, but then unfortunately fizzled out at the end with a few bricks and just bad matchups in general. But yeah, today we went through a Whitebeard, a round 1 win. Again, saw what I needed to see. Quite easy matchup. Whitebeard 2, I lost the dice roll, so he made me go second, and then all of a sudden I looked down at my hand and I had 4 9-cost Mihawks and 2 10-drop Kaidos. So
it's just unfortunate when that happens.
Can you do
wow.
At that point, it's like
yeah,
you play the best of your ability. You can't really do much more. And then we versed a Whitebeard, quite well-known Whitebeard actually, Elliot Chatter, I believe his name is.
Charters?
Charters,
yes.
That's the one. Elliot Charters. Ended up getting the win against that, so that was quite a morale boost because he is quite a strong player. He did win the 3v3 over East quite recently, so that is definitely a big morale boost midday, I guess. But then following into that, I saw a Katakuri, and I was like, oh, lovely. Normally it's quite the loss, but ended up dropping the Sentomaru, hitting the right damage. He didn't see what he needed to see, but I did. Got the dub there, and then we snowballed into 2 Rebeccas, which are just 3 wins, and then we've got our Magellan. Unfortunately, I lost the dice roll. He made me go second, and then from there he kept me off of 9 Don long enough to set up a board, and then I just couldn't recover. And then my last loss was the Whitebeard. I won the dice roll, which was great, and then I saw my hand. Unfortunately, it wasn't the greatest, so I mulled. Wasn't the best decision to mull. I mulled into absolute hot garbage. And I saw absolutely no bot deck at all. And then he set up his 4-drop 6Ks, he set up his aces, and then it's pretty much game from there. Unfortunately, I then started to brick into the Mihawks, and then my blocker pacifistas, and then my red rocks, and then my dragon twisters. So, unfortunately, statistically I'm okay with it, but it's not to my standards. I obviously strive to perform a bit better than what I did today, so hopefully in the next one we can do it.
Yeah.
But now that that's out the way and I gave you a few of the matchups, let's get into the deck.
Overall solid performance still, man, so let's dive in.
Appreciate it. Right, yeah, so we've got our 4 Kaya, obviously quite the good 1k, 1 cost, 2k counter, good for cycle to get those really bricky hands out.
Yeah.
I'm running Alvida as a 2-off. Originally, it wasn't even in the deck, but having all these 3 costs that are so sticky on the board now with Rebecca, even Perispero, I did chuck a few in. It didn't actually come into play today, but it has been used in playtesting, and it did come out quite well. But today I just needed the cards in my hand that I could not trash to then bounce effectively. We have our 2 Sasaki. 9 times out of 10, I just personally use it as 2k counter. It's very minimal actually played to mull, because you see quite a lot of what you need during the match anyway, so you don't really need to mull for your whole hand. But again, if you do, you can swing with it, which is great, but the 2k counter is normally what it's there for. And then we have our Missile Sunday, obviously staple in a Croc deck, depending on the build you're using, obviously, because I didn't use it in my Animal Kingdom build. But the Missile Sunday is great to get your events back. Obviously they can't pop it, or you get your events back regardless. Now it can be played around if you do not have an event in trash to begin with, so setting that up early just to get out their poppers, so things that are going to KO your stuff. I normally play this when I don't have something in trash, because it baits out all of their stuff, so I can then play stuff that will be safe in the long run. And then we have ulti as a 2-of. Now, I could take this out the deck. It saw 0 play today, obviously because of the matchups I used, but it's 1 dom when attacking bot deck, a 2 or less, or bounce to hand, but you wouldn't want to bounce it. But it is good to get late game if you want to just pop it down, and if they can't remove it, it's pretty much game, because you're going to bounce their blockers, bottom deck their blockers and stuff like that. So it is good, but 9 times out of 10 it gets killed the turn after it's swung anyway, so it is kind of just a one-hit wonder. And then we've got our Doflamingo, obviously rearranging top 5, amazing 3 cost 4k blocker. You can swing with it as well. It's what I do quite often to get attacks away from my leader. And then moving over to the engine of the deck, we've got our Sentomaru. I run the Pacifistas at a 3-2 split. I found that really good today because it wasn't too clunky in my hand, meaning that I don't have too many that can come into hand, therefore I'm not drawing into them. The times I actually played Sentomaru was really beneficial because these weren't in life, but adding on the benefit of being able to look through your deck, if you are a very good, competent player in that aspect of things, you can search your deck quick enough to know exactly what's in your life. Obviously you don't know the order it's in, but you can play around and know what you can take and what you can't take depending on what's in your life, with counter, etc. And then I'm running Bartholomew Kuma at a 2-of, purely for when this is shown in my hand. It's very good to put down as a blocker, just tank any hit, doesn't matter, and then replace it with a 4 cost 6k or another blocker. And then moving down to our Soga Kings, we've got this at a 2-of. I might up it to a 3-of. This saw quite a lot of play today. As soon as it was in my hand, I pretty much played it. Cycling, as well as bouncing a 6 cost, which is huge. Bouncing your Thatchers, bouncing your Perisperos, your 6 cost 8k Perisperos, all those really big 6 cost 8ks that just beat your board to death. Using this is really good, especially the turn before you're dropping a 9 cost Mihawks. Now I'm running this at a 4-of because it's such a strong card. Obviously you have the chance of drawing into too many of them, but that's where the cycle comes in. But yeah, just a really strong card. I run it as a 4-of. I've seen people run it as a 3-of and a 2-of, but I've stuck it at a 4 just because of how beneficial it is when I do see it. And then your 10-drop Kaido. So the reason I run this as a 2-of is because when you're actually at 10 Don, you're not really wanting to commit a whole turn unless it's game ending or super beneficial to you to bounce such big bodies. But having a big body like that is great. Did win me a few games just having it on the board, just chipping away, because they don't want to swing into it because it's such an investment. And if you have 2 Don up, it's pretty much like there's no point swinging into it, so they'll just ignore it. And then we've got our events. So I'm running a 4-4-3 split of 3000 Worlds, Gum Gum Red Rock, and Dragon Twister. So you've got your 3000 Worlds for all of your 5 drops. You can be using it on 3 drops, is what I've been doing today with your Olumbuses that are just really, really, really threatening to your board, to let them snowball into killing all of your board. So don't be afraid to use this on a 3 cost if the 3 cost has a high threat level. And then the Dragon Twister obviously is such a saving grace, with the 2 Don up plus 4k, and then bottom deck a 1 cost, whether that be a 1 cost blocker, whether that be a searcher that's about to get mucky node and 11k swing into you. It is just such a great card. And again, the reason I'm not running Love Mellow anymore is because of the amount of cards in this set that don't have counter, that are a necessity to the decks. You just don't meet the requirements that often to be able to draw the card as its secondary effect. So I did opt out to switching to Dragon Twister.
Yep.
And then we've got our Gum Gum Red Rock, obviously amazing card, bottom decks anything in the game. So all of your 10 drops, just bottom deck. Amazing to even bottom deck 5 costs as well, 6 costs. If you don't have your 3000 worlds, don't be afraid to just bot deck like a Rush Luffy with this, because it is such a big threat. Because I did that quite a few times today. But other than that, I'd say we've covered all the bases, and then we've got a few things going through. Like I've said in other videos, when you're on your 9 Don turn, for example, and you do drop your Mihawk, and you bot deck a 7 cost, which is such a strong play, if you do neg 4 for the leader ability and bounce a 5 cost, you can then ramp up if you have Sogeking in your hand, which is why I might up this to a 3 of. You play that next turn straight away, and then you're back to 9 Don, and then you're bouncing between these 2, and you're bouncing 9s, and then you're bottom decking 7s with your 9 cost, and then you're bouncing a 5 cost, and then you're passing turn over to your Sogeking, which is cycling through your deck, and also bouncing a 6 cost, and then back up to 9. And then going through that cycle is very, very good, and it's very oppressing for the deck that you're versing, no matter what it is. So that's a good little combo that I do quite often, especially when I haven't found my Kaidos yet, and I know that I don't have another Mihawk coming too early. So that's great for late game, mid to late game on curve. Especially playing first is a must-have, except a few, I'd say one matchup you'd want to go second. I can't quite remember. I think it's Law. Law you definitely want to go second with, because then you curve into your bot decks and everything like that. But other than that, you definitely want to go first on all matchups, even against Katakuri, because your main priority is to get Sentomaru down and start flooding the board with Pacifistas. If you don't flood the board with Pacifistas early, and you don't put enough pressure on them before they drop their 10 drops, so you actually can't get enough damage in before they start gaining life too aggressively, and then it's just game from there.
Yeah,
unfortunately. But I feel like I've covered all the bases. Any questions you can leave down in the comments. I do respond to quite a lot of them if they're quite early to the release of the video. But other than that, big shout out to my boy the Clet, good old Nick from the PX3 team. He got top 10 today, or top 16. He got 10th place, so that's great. Got himself some big wins. He lost his first round, but then absolutely clean sweeped the rest. And then, yeah, I'd say the deck runs great. Unfortunately, it does have a few losses. Like Katakuri, if you don't see the right things, then it's dead in the water.
It's game over.
Yeah, it's pretty rough against Law, but if you see the right things, then it's fine. But yeah, it is a strong deck. Unfortunately, has its highs, has its lows, but I'm still working on it. Yep. We'll constantly be working on it throughout the sets, but definitely onto Sakazuki next set. That's going to be my little pet deck that I'll be working on, so expect a few videos coming from that soon.
We can't wait, man. We look forward to seeing how you're going to rock with that deck for sure.
Nice. And yeah, so big shout out to Eternal Magic and Beyond Odyssey. Again, Eternal Magic is where you get all these pretty cards from, all these old-time Mihawks, Tendril Kaidos, nice Doflamingos, any cards that I'm looking for, that's my go-to.
Beautiful.
That's where I get them from. So,
Yeah.
Big shout out to Beyond, where we always host our locals, always down there with the crew, doing our testing.
Always tearing it up.
That's it.
That's it, man. That's it. That's awesome.
But without further ado, I feel like we are done.
Beautiful. Thanks, man, for sharing that. Still, big feat to be doing well with Croc as you are still. And I'm sure you got all the viewers really love your profiles. That's why they always keep tuning back in. You're the Croc, man. You're going to get there soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks for all the support.
And yeah, always remember, guys, to like and subscribe and to hit the bell to stay notified. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks, Ethan.